Space Coconut.
Okay, today we're going to talk about the argument that killers with no counterplay are unfun. I know many of you are going to say that because I'm a killer main that I have no basis where I can talk about this subject since I'm just going to say get good. But let's try to have this discussion anyway, because there are factors that people who take this stance always seem to disregard or forget to consider when they make this argument. Be sure to sub and hit the bell if you don't want to miss discussions like this in the future. I'm live on Twitch every Monday, Wednesday, and Saturday, so catch me there if you want to talk about any of the topics I cover live. Before we talk about killers with and without counterplay, we have to talk about what survivors do to counter the killers with counterplay, and why. Why does an individual survivor need to be able to counterplay a killer? To buy time for the rest of the team to fix gens. In the end, that's the only thing a single survivor can do against a killer. Waste their time and prevent them from pressuring gens by injuring other survivors. In a 1v1 situation, a survivor is only delaying a killer. A single survivor should never be able to take on and beat a killer when the two players have equal skill. This also means that in a 1v1 scenario, the killer should always win if the players are of equal skill. This is an asymmetrical game, which means the team of 4 as a whole should be equally as powerful as the team of 1. In Dead by Daylight, this means that the only thing a single survivor can hope to accomplish is to outplay the killer long enough for the team to do their objective. The faster a killer can down and hook survivors, the less time those survivors have to finish gens. In a very simple sense, this is what a match is. Now, what is the most effective way a survivor can delay a killer? Looping, and in some case simply running in a straight line. This is the core weapon a survivor has against a killer and is the core mechanic of every no counterplay argument. When a survivor can't effectively waste a killer's time by looping, the survivor must find another way to do so. They can't play against every killer the exact same way, or rely on the same strategies for all of them. As killers are changed to have a similar power level, they are all going to have different ways of playing. If they don't, then killers become nothing more than skins, just like survivors are right now. When survivors can't loop killers the same way, or have enough information to make a decision to outplay the killer without any forethought, many make videos and forum posts about how unfun or broken the killer is. A good killer understands that their main enemy is time, and they're not going to play the game in a way that makes it easy for survivors to waste it. This is why you'll see good killers walk away from chases if they run too long or the survivor heads to a strong area. This is why you'll hear other killer mains advise against chasing survivors for too long. It's easier for a survivor to accomplish this against killers without the ability to directly end chases quickly, and all of that lays the groundwork for this discussion. Killers without counterplay, according to the forums and a few videos, are Spirit, Deathslinger, and Pyramid Head. As of this writing, Pyramid has been out for 1 month, Deathslinger has been out for 4, and Spirit has been out for almost 2 years, but her problems are pretty much well established. Is it crazy to think that killer players haven't actually found the best way to play these characters? And as a result, survivor players haven't found a way to play against them effectively? Survivors and killers act and react according to what each other do in a game. As time goes on, new tactics are developed by each side, and the other side reacts to them. The hook tech is a recent example. In the same way, killers sometimes use their powers in ways not entirely intended by the devs, forcing survivors to react or adapt to those tactics. In the case of Deathslinger, the main argument is that if you're in front of him, you have no time to react between the time he raises his gun and pulls the trigger. Why should you be able to react to that? You shouldn't. If you're caught in front of the killer, it should be inevitable that you're injured or go down, right? As we've established, a single survivor shouldn't be able to stand against a killer for very long. The killers who can be 1v1'd like this tend to be weaker, like the clown. And people who want to be able to verse them will never say that those killers are boring. So, if you get in front of the Deathslinger and his gun has no counterplay, how do you counter a good Deathslinger? you never get in front of him in the first place. Or gain as much distance as possible, forcing the killer's aim to be on point if they want to use their power at a distance to end the chase quickly. The same could be said about OG nerfs. Breaking line of sight was the most important tactic that could counter the nerfs. Basically, avoid being found. There's a lot of ifs and buts in this reasoning, but we're not here to argue about the small details. As unfun as it is not to be able to directly counter a killer like Deathslinger, he still has counterplay if you're able to think ahead of the killer. Think about where he's going and why. Avoid being found, and hope your teammates are working on gens so you can escape as a team. The killer is also wasting time if they're looking for you and can't find you. Now I know what many of you are thinking. This is all easy for me to say since I don't play Survivor, and that playing against Deathslinger isn't fun. Enter the hypocrisy. Is it fun for a killer to be unable to catch a survivor who runs from loop to loop while gens are popping off and they're unable to stop the survivor effectively? No. This is why forum posts about Gen Rush exist, and this is why the fun argument fails. The goal of survivors is to escape, regardless of what you find fun in the game. The ultimate goal of a chased survivor is to last as long as possible to give their teammates time to finish the gens. The longer a survivor can evade a killer, the longer the teammates can work on those generators. This is why killers that can shorten this time by using their power rather than just running survivors down are considered more powerful. Shorter chases means gens should be slowed because survivors are rescuing or healing. But this isn't exactly the case against decently skilled survivors, thanks to how the survivor objectives work right now. If a killer is deemed unfun by players, they ask for it to be changed, but offer nothing in return for being changed in the first place. Pyramid Head, as an example. Many are calling him OP because he's able to cancel his power and swing right away. And the reason this is effective is because actually using his ranged attack is very punishing if it misses. If players want him to have a short cooldown after canceling his power should be less punishing to use. But of course you won't hear this coming from those players who are only considering their own fun. Which is fair, because I don't care about how much fun Survivor players have in my matches either. Hopefully, you are able to follow all of that. It basically comes down to this. Every killer has counterplay. It's just that you can't use the same counterplay on every killer. So try new tactics if your old tactics don't work. It's what killers have been doing for years. Let me know what you think about this. If I didn't explain something clearly, ask me in the comments and I'll do my best to explain it better. Until next time, get good.